Good morning. So today is one of the most important lessons for all of geometry. So from your calendar, I want you to pull up the lesson. So you should pull up this lesson because you need all the vocab. And also click on this vocab sheet. Okay, so this vocabulary sheet has all the definitions of everything that we've gone over so far, plus we're going to be adding a few things. So you're going to need this all through geometry. So we've already talked about a point, a line, a segment, array. We've talked about horizontal slope, vertical slope. We will talk about intersecting lines today. We will talk about perpendicular today. Lots of vocab words that you're going to need for your assignment. Today we're going to start talking about a lot of these angles. So make sure you have this angle part. We'll talk about adjacent, complementary, supplementary, vertical angles, linear pair. We've got all kinds of vocab. So keep this pulled up for your assignment today. You'll probably want that pulled up. Okay, so remember your test is September 23rd. Okay, this is so important. We're spending 3 days on it. 3 days. So let's go ahead and start. So today we're going to talk about angle relationships. So we have a bunch of different angles we need to learn about. Have you ever heard of complementary angles and supplementary angles? Have you guys learned that before? So you're going to have to memorize that complementary angles always add to 90 degrees. So together they can form a right angle, or just separately they need to add to 90. So complementary angles add to 90. Supplementary angles always add to 180 degrees. So they can be two separate angles that add to 180, or they can form a line and add to 180. Now this is how I remember it. So complementary starts with the letter C, and supplementary starts with the letter S, which kind of makes up two C's. Well, complementary, just one is 90. And do you see how supplementary has two of the 90s? What's 90 plus 90? 180. So that's how I remember it. I know that's really stupid, but that's how I remember it. So you're going to have to remember complementary adds to 90 degrees. Supplementary adds to 180 degrees. So that's the first thing you're going to see this all throughout geometry the rest of the year. Okay, adjacent angles. This is very important as well. So adjacent angles are angles that share a side. They are right next to each other. They have a common vertex and a common side, but no common interior points. So for example, look up here, look at this. If I have this angle 1 and then this angle 2, those are adjacent because they share this side right here. Does that make sense? Okay, but this is not adjacent. Look at this. If I have this big angle, and then I have an angle on the inside of it, that is not adjacent. So they have to be two separate angles right next to each other. So I can't have the big angle and then one inside of the angle. That's not adjacent. You have to have an angle all alone, but it shares a side with another angle.
How will you know the difference?
Like if it says, let's see. If it says our angles A, B, C, and A, B, D adjacent, you would have to say no. But if it said, here, A, if it said our angles A, B, D, and D, B, C adjacent, you would say yes. So this angle and this angle are adjacent, next to each other. Okay, so they share a side, share a vertex. So we've got complementary, supplementary, adjacent. Let's talk about a linear pair. Very, very important. Linear pair. You're going to see this throughout the whole year. So linear pair of angles always forms a line. You see the word line in linear pair. Linear pair forms a line. They always add to 180 degrees. They are adjacent. They share a side. So it would be this angle and then this angle. So they're adjacent angles that form a line. That's a linear pair. They always add to 180 because they form a line.
So that would also be like a supplement?
They would also be supplementary, yes. So they are adjacent and supplementary. Good, very smart. Okay, so we've got complementary. What do complementary angles add up to?
90.
90. What do supplementary angles add up to?
180.
180. We have adjacent angles, they share a side. And then we have linear pair, they form a line. They are adjacent and supplementary. Okay, last but not least, vertical angles. Super important as well. Vertical angles are formed by intersecting lines, two intersecting lines. But like this right here would be a linear pair because it makes a straight line. Vertical angles are directly across from each other. They only share a vertex. So like this angle DAC, do you see that angle right there?
It would be equal.
And then BAE, it would be equal to that one. So they're directly across from each other. Vertical makes a V, so this would be a V, this would be a V. And then another pair would be DAB. Do you guys remember when the DAB was popular?
Oh my god.
Yeah. DAB and CAE would be vertical angles. They always equal each other as well. So these two next to each other always add to 180, but the ones directly across from each other equal each other. Those are the vertical angles. Vertical angles. Okay, so let's think about something. What if this angle was 30 degrees? Can you tell which other angle would be 30 degrees?
BAE.
Yes, BAE would be 30. Okay. Could I figure out this angle?
Yes.
Yes. These make a straight line, so what would these two angles add up to?
180.
180. So if that's 30, this would be 150.
Will the whole entire thing always equal up to
360, yes, because it makes a circle. Did you know that a circle is 360? Yeah. Okay. Very good, very good. So the two directly across from each other always equal each other. The two next to each other form a linear pair, so they add to 180. Okay, so we talked about that. What if we had algebra? If I know these two are vertical angles, that means they equal each other. So I would do x plus 16 equals 4x minus 5. Then what would I do to solve that? What would you do? Yeah, well, so we have to combine them, but if we go across the equals,
No,
what do I-
wait. So then we would do x plus 16 plus 4x minus 5 equals, would it be?
these two equal each other
Okay.
because they're vertical.
Okay.
So now I need to combine my like terms, so I'm going to subtract x on both sides. Okay, so 16 equals 3x minus 5, then what would I do? Add 5, so 21 equals 3x, then what? Divide by 3, what's x?
7.
7, okay. So you will have some algebra, a little bit of algebra. So vertical angles, don't add them together, put them equal to each other. So really your main thing through all of geometry, the whole entire school year, you're going to be deciding, do the angles equal each other? Do they add to 90 or do they add to 180? Those are your options, always. Do they equal each other, add to 90, or add to 180? Okay, you're going to have some problems where you have to try to name a pair of vertical angles or name a linear pair or so on. So vertical angles, there's lots of answers. Let's start with this, EKH. What would that be vertical with?
FKG.
FKG, very good, FKG, those would be vertical. So angle EKH and angle FKG. What if I did this angle up here, EKF, what would that be vertical with?
HKJ.
HKG, because it has to make that perfect X. Very good. Okay. I have people every year that try to name the straight line. Like they try to say EKG and HKF are vertical. Those are not vertical. That's just naming the straight line. So you always have to name the V angle. Okay. A linear pair. So a linear pair has to form a straight line. So I can look at this straight line. There's several answers. Let's look at this straight line. Do you see that this would form a linear pair? How could I name this angle right here? How do I name this angle?
EKG.
EKH. EKH would be linear to, how do I name that angle? EKF.
Do we have to start with the E?
No.
Wait, what does letter mean again?
So that would be a linear pair. There's lots of answers though. I could have gone this way and said like EKF and FKG. Lots of answers. Okay, name an angle that's complementary to FKG. So do you see this little box right here? So this angle and then this angle would be complementary. So how could I name this angle? GKJ. It's kind of hard. I get messed up with the G's and J like I started counting.
What does complementary mean again?
Complementary adds to 90. Remember the C has a 90, the S is 90 and 90, which makes 180, supplementary. Name a pair of adjacent angles. Adjacent means they share a vertex and a side, so they're right next to each other. So like E, K, F, and F, K, G would be adjacent. Or G, K, J, and J, K, H would be adjacent, as long as they share a side. And then finally, the last one says name a right angle. So look for the box. That would be F, K, J.
Will it always give us a box?
Yeah, it has to. Don't ever assume a right angle. Good question. Don't ever assume a right angle. It has to give you that box so you know. Now you can assume it if it's like this. If it just gives you one box, you can assume this would also be a right angle because 90 plus 90 is 180. Okay. But you do have to see a box. Good question. Okay, these are probably going to be the hardest types of questions, so you want to write, maybe use your expo markers and write this stuff down. So these are kind of wordish problems, so they're going to be kind of hard. So it says the word complementary. What do complementary angles add up to?
90.
90. Good. 90. So this is what I do. If I see complementary, I always just draw a right angle. Because I know 90 degrees. So since we want a pair of angles, a pair is two angles, I'm going to put a line somewhere in there. And it doesn't matter where. So I'm going to have two angles that together are complementary because they add to 90. So now this says, find the measure of two complementary angles if the measure of the larger angle is 12 more than twice.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, don't you love it when they do that? So you're always going to call one of the angles X. Just pick one, call it X. The other is 12 more than, how would I write 12 more?
2 times.
No, 12 more, well,
2 plus
12 plus twice this, there's the 2x. And you could do 2x plus 12 or 12 plus 2x, it doesn't matter. When you're adding, it doesn't matter. So together, these angles will add to 90. So x plus 12 plus 2x equals 90. So do you see your like terms?
Yeah.
So what would 2x and 1x make?
3x.
3x plus 12 equals 90. Then what? What is that? 78?
Yes.
And then I don't know what 3 divided by 78 is. Can somebody do that?
Here, I got it.
78 divided by 3.
78.
So 3.
That'd be
26.
I was
Yes.
about to do that.
Oh, Emma almost had it. She almost had it.
Oh,
So
I
that
almost had
means this angle's 26. The other angle is 12 more than 2 times 26. Or if they both add to 90, couldn't I just do 90 minus 26 to get the other angle?
Yes.
I could do that too.
Oh.
Because they add to 90. What is 90 minus 26?
90 minus 26
is
64.
Yeah.
Shit, too aggressive.
Okay.
64.
So if it says the word complementary, I want you to start by drawing a right angle.
Okay.
If it says the word supplementary, I want you to draw a linear pair. This is what a linear pair looks like. A linear pair.
What does linear mean again?
Linear line.
It's a line.
Line. It makes a line. And it always adds to what? What does it add up to?
180.
180. Okay. Pick an angle, call it X. I just picked the smaller angle because this says 6 less than 5 times. 6 less than 5 times that angle. How would I write that?
5 times the other angle of -6.
Yep, 5x minus 6. The minus 6 has to go after because less than always like flips it. I have to put it after because it's less than the 5x. It's smaller than the 5x. So together they have to add to 180. So 5x minus 6 plus x equals 180. Or combine like terms, how many x's do we have? 6x.
Oh,
5x and 1.
we
Yeah.
have to. Sorry.
I know what you did. Now what would I do to solve that?
Add 6 and divide by 6.
So 6x equals 186. What is 186 divided by 6? You guys have the calculators.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, so that would be 31.
Yeah.
31. So this angle would be 31. The other angle would be 5 times 31 minus 6, or just 180 minus 31 since they add to 180. So what is 180 minus 31?
149.
Thank you. Did you do that in your head?
No, I don't.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely
Okay.
not.
Good.
She might be
Okay.
fast, not that smart. That's
So-
all it is.
What did I tell you? What kind of picture do you need to draw if it says complementary?
A line or right.
A right angle. Okay, complementary right angle. And then put a little line inside there, a little ray inside there. Always call one of the angles X.
Yes.
Pick one, call it X. It says the angles have the same measure. So they would both be X. They have the same measure.
Just divide 90 by 2.
Yeah, you could just divide 90 by 2. What would each angle be?
90 by 2, 45.
45. Good. If I set it up algebraically, I would have 2x equals 90, divide by 2, and you get 45.
Yeah.
Okay, what if it says the word supplement? Oh, I thought I had a supplementary one. I guess I don't. But if it says supplementary, what kind of picture do you draw?
A flat one.
Do you remember what that's called?
Sub-
Linear
Yeah.
pair. Good. Linear pair. Okay, there are things that you can assume in geometry and things that you cannot. So you can never assume that lines are perpendicular. You have to see a right angle. So perpendicular means you have intersecting lines that form 4 right angles. Now you only have to see one box. You can assume the others are boxes because they form a straight line, and 90 plus 90 is 180. The symbol for perpendicular, just so you know, is an upside down T, capital T. That's the symbol for perpendicular. Alright, so there are things you can assume and things that you cannot assume in geometry. You can never ever assume that angles are congruent. They have to be marked with humps. So like if I knew that JHK and GHM were congruent, I can't assume they're congruent unless I see humps in there. You can never assume angles are right angles. You have to see the box. You can never assume segments are congruent. You have to see the little slashy marks. But you can assume vertical angles. You can assume that those angles are vertical and that they equal each other. You can assume that. You can also assume that a line is a straight line and that's 180 degrees. You can assume that. Okay, so let's see. I've got dumb kids, 1 plus 1. is 11.
Oh,
Yeah.
I thought you said we have dumb kids.
Oh
here, and I was
gosh,
like,
you guys
what?
are smart. No, you guys are smart. And then I've got math,
Oh, no.
chivalry, is that how you say that?
I don't
So
know.
the plus sign is saying after you to the parentheses and the exponent and the
Why are you
division.
laughing? Don't laugh.
Hilarious.
That's so funny.
Oh.
Okay, so there is a little video
Oh,
if you're
this
still
guy.
struggling and you want to watch.
Okay.
So you guys do have this pulled up too, right?
Yep.
Okay, so on your assignment, what I probably would do if I were you is I would do like all the actual problems first and then come back to number 7 and do it last. So 7 is a
7
lot of
last question.
vocab.
Holy crap.
Yeah. Yeah, lots of vocab. So,
Wow.
Wait, how many questions are there?
that I don't know.
When are we
So
doing that?
15
When are we doing that?
today. This is your assignment. So get your assignment pulled up.
So you only like 20 minutes of class.
I know.
can
The
try.
first time was the favorite.
But we are spending
That's
3 days. So
forgetting.
if you don't finish, you'll have some class time tomorrow. There will be another assignment, but you will have class time tomorrow.
Yay.
Okay, so
Other-
thinking thinking of definitions. Collinear points are points that lie on the same line. True or false?
You deserve this.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
Yes, true. They do lie on the same line. Collinear, same line. Coplanar, same plane. Angles that form a linear pair are supplementary. True or false? True. They add to 180, so that is also true.
They're both true.
I got a lot of truths. Complementary angles add to 90. True. Yeah.
Is the first one true?
Yeah.
Okay.
Collinear, same line. Coplanar, same plane.
What is congruent?
Congruent, equal.
Okay, equal.
Then this says vertical angles are adjacent.
Yeah.
Now, vertical angles would be this angle and then this angle. They
No.
are not adjacent. All they share is that vertex. Adjacent angles mean they have to share a side. So that would be false. But are vertical angles congruent? Do they equal each other? Do vertical angles equal each other?
Yes.
Yes, so that one's true.
Wait.
So vertical angles do equal each other, but they are not adjacent, and I believe that's on your test. You have to know they're not adjacent. And then coplanar points are points that lie in the same plane.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. You're gonna have all these definitions. There's a big drop down, and the answers don't disappear when you use them. So like points that lie on the same plane, you have to know is coplanar point. So that's the one you would pick. But you can come back to that later, like if you want to do all the actual problems first. So 8 and 9 are those where you have to draw the picture. If it says complementary, I want you to draw a right angle with a ray in there. If it says supplementary, I want you to draw a linear pair.
So,
Now, if you need help setting those up, just let me know.
I need help all of it.
it's alright, I'm done.
So complementary 90, supplementary 180. And then these you are solving for x. Yeah. Remember, vertical angles equal each other. A linear pair adds to 180. So your biggest decision in geometry is always going to be, do the angles equal each other? Do they add to 90 or do they add to 180? Those are your options. So, if you need help, let me know.
You're gonna hear